Hey everybody, and welcome to the Army Showcase. The Army Showcase is where we look at different armies from different games. Now today we're going to have a look at an army from Warlord Games' Epic Battles Hail Caesar. And this is part of the Hannibal set. This is the Roman part of the Hannibal set. And this is painted by Laisu. Now, truth be told, I honestly thought that when Laisu decided to paint the Romans, I'd probably see the Romans done in a couple of years, maybe a decade. So the fact that it was done in actually 2 years was kind of impressive to me. So kudos, Laisu, for getting it done really quick and being focused. Now, very quickly, this army is, I would like to consider very well done, right? So if you see something in here that's really difficult, don't be too concerned about it. Just enjoy the video. You can always strive for something this good. Now, I was talking to Laisu about this, and he told me that he actually never completed an Ancients project before. I mean, he tried numerous times to start a DBA army, but he failed. But he was inspired by the look of the Warlord Games' densely packed, disciplined Roman lines. I mean, the little block of 3. The lined up infantry with the shield interlaced with one another. A lot for a simple airbrush solution, he says, to help with his, slow painting speed. It also would allow him a chance to introduce some really nice gradient effects. Now, Warlord Games' decals provided a way to skip the freehand and provide a very nice uniform look for the army. So what he did was he explored other decals as well. VVV, for example, or Vini Vidi Vici, the 15mm Roman decals. Because the amount of decals in the Hannibal set was insufficient to get the minis done the right way. And I would totally agree. I wish Warlord Games would sell the decals on its own, because the decals are very good, and I think they would be missing a trick if they don't put this for sale. So according to him as well, the decal process was a bit fiddly at first. He said that some shields were just overlaid too much to fit the decals properly, and this is understandable, right? Because they were trying to go for a very nice, very natural look with all the 10 infantry setup. So it's understandable that not all shields are gonna face out the same way. So initially he painted in what he couldn't decal. However, he decided to get inspiration from the Gunpla world, and he got himself decal scissors that were precise enough. So the idea was to cut down the decals to fit the shields, which is a great idea. Precision tools done for the right job. He also says that he was inspired by Stu from Miniature Realms. His videos delivered some very convincing results with the slap chop method for the Warlord Epic range. It was also an excuse to test the Valio Express colors and pretty much bulk out his Games Workshop contrast range. Now, he says that, at some point, he even started getting some Army Painter speed paints as well. So what he did was, he mirrored Stu's basing methods for his Romans. He was keen on testing out the Vallejo colored textures for basing, and explored using tufts for the first time. Now, he's always used static grass, but he wanted a bit more sparse layout for his Romans. So some experimentation was in order. And speaking of experimentation, he was experimenting with oil washes and wanted to see how it would look at this scale. Now, previously, he did the 18mm AB figures. The link is in the description. And the 6mm Bacchus British. And those were done with the help of the Army Painter dip system. So oil washes at this scale would be a first. And he said, well, he says it worked out splendidly, and I would totally agree. Overall, a few more steps, you know, that one would think necessary for a 13.5 figure, and I totally agree. This is a lot of steps, but he was very very happy with the result, and he says that he definitely is adding slap chop into his skill set, or the skill sets that he has, and he managed to bring his decal skills to a more precise level. He also got inspiration from other YouTube creators like Alex Price, and Martin from Seventh Son, because they helped keep him motivated with their progress and battle reports, thus keeping his fire alive. Now, he also has advice for guys who want to attempt this army. Um, he says, don't try to do too many of these in one go. He says, given the way the game forces you to use the manipular system, it can get rather repetitive. So here's what he recommends: do one set of Hastati, one set of Principe, one set of Triarii, and one set of Velites before moving on. That way, you help keep your sanity, and it helped him keep his sanity while painting. Now, when you prepare figures, the cleaning process is very important. So, cleaning, these figures were a bit painful according to him, because of how tightly packed they are. So he took his time to get them done right. And you know what? As with anything, the cleaning part is kind of important. I tend to skip this part because I tend to rush into my paint jobs. But if you're wanting to reach that level of perfection, like, cleaning is integral part of the process. Now, some of the Velites, he says, did not take well to rough handling, and it makes sense. The figures are rather small, and sometimes the poses, puts the miniature at risk of breakage. He says that one of the poses is prone to snapping off from the legs, if he was too rough, and also some of the spear points are prone to breaking. This is quite normal. I had this problem as well when I was doing the English Civil War. The pikes, I had to be very very careful with the pikes, and same applies to these miniatures as well. Anytime there's something poking out, the big risk is breakage, right? I asked him what was his favorite infantry, and he says it was the Velites. Because he says they managed to cram quite a bit of character into the miniatures. He says they were a joy to paint, and well, so things were breaking, but it was worth the pain. It was worth the pain of the breaking parts. Now, the least favorite of all would have been the Triarii and their shields, and this makes sense. These are the ones which are more, ornate and more elaborate. So there were, according to him, there were some very painful moments painting in the embossed details. But, as with anything, do it enough times and you probably get the hang of it. All right, first up, we're going to have a look at the Blue Shield Hastati. Most of the comments, um, or my thoughts on the Hastati is going to be the same for all three, blue, red, and yellow. So as you can see, the Hastati are basically the youngest, right? The youngest, the light most, ones with the least amount of armor or the least quality armor, right? And they're the ones who go into battle first, and once they're tired, the Principes go in next, and then the Triarii. But let's have a look at the shields really, really close. As you can see, the shields are really nicely done, really, really nicely done. And to get them into the little slots over there, was definitely something of a job to do. Yeah, it was important to have the decals on the front. No much worries on the ones in the back. As you can see, it doesn't really affect the look too much. But yeah, so these are the Blue Shield Hastati. So next up, we're gonna have a look at the Blue Shield Principes, and as you can see, very nice. The work on the shield, you know, and I think using the precision snippers for it. Also works. Now compared to the Hastati, these guys are a little bit more well-to-do, you know, and they're also a little bit older, right? So after the Hastati has done their thing, these guys go in to do their thing. There you have it. And then you have the Triarii. The shields for all the Triarii are gonna be different for all the different colors, right? The blue, the red. There's a nice attempt there to get the basic shape inside because if you actually like look over here, just having that works, right? It does work. You don't need to have that bit over there, because the illusion will follow through. It looks really good. And I like the fact that you can tell these guys are the older ones, the ones with the who are most have the most money resources, right? The armor, even the the looks a little bit more rich. That's for sure when it comes to the Triarii. All right, so let's have a look at the red shields. Also, same, more or less the same decals across the board, more or less. But this one, yeah, is similar to the blue shield decals, as you can see over there. Slight, I think it's a slight variance. If you compare them, let's just really really quickly compare them. Yeah, a little bit different. I think one's boar, one's a wolf. I think I'm not mistaken. Pretty much the same effect, but as you can see, the Astati all over the place, right? Young, impetuous, when, like I said, when they get tired, they're taken over. The role is taken over by the Principes. Very nice looking. She is right there. Right. So the Principes for the red shields. Yeah, different colored decals. Went with a bit yellow, with nice contrast to the red and black plumes this time, as opposed to the white plumes from the blue ones. These ones look a little bit more uniform. Let's have a look at the idea is to look at the decals when it comes to zooming in close on these, so you can actually have a joy and the work that's been put into this, is appreciated. All right, a Triarii for the red shields is a flip of the color. It's a yellow with red. This is a part of the same group. Very nice. It's nice that they changed up a little bit. And as you can see, there's more uniformity actually when it comes to the Triarii, and there's a little bit more. How do I put this? Uh, Wealth, as you can see, when it comes to the shields and stuff like that. So, Triarii for the red group. And finally, the yellow shields, and this is the Hastati for yellow shields. I like the blending of the yellow to, I want to say it's black, sort of, I think. On this light, I'm not so sure. But the decals are black. There's a nice contrast to the white decals. For the rest, again, nice mismatch of, like, you know, the look on the back to show they're, a little bit more, less affluent as compared to, right. But nicely done. Uh, the shields. I think the shields is what will win this whole army in terms of, like, appreciation. And then we got the Principes, and as you can see over here, the I think Laisu did a great job and tried to make each one look uniquely enough. And I think the brainstorming before attempting all the colors and shields is crucial, to make sure all of the different shields and groupings, right, felt different from one another. So yeah, the Principes, again, have a look. See the work. I think you can see that, to get this done properly, precision tools were needed, as well as a whole lot of patience. And then finally, the Triarii for the yellow shield group, as you can see. This one is slightly more muted as compared to the rest, but I think the effect, is really pronounced here. It's got this nice, like, subtle thing happening, which, if you look really close, you can actually see what's going on, which I think is a very nice effect. So it's not as loud as the previous red shield ones. So yeah, very nicely done, and I think the thought that went into putting the shields for all three different quality of troops across the three different shield colors, right? Really paid off. Really paid off. All right, so let's have a look at the Velites very quickly. Um, very nice, very characterful. Look at that. Look at this guy. Very characterful. Shields are pretty simple. I mean, there's not too much focus on the shields, but each of the characters, each of the abilities, actually then using a small palette of color also helps unify this. And this goes across the board to all the three different abilities from the different um, groups, right? The red shield group, the blue shield group. That's what I'm going to call them: red shield group, blue shield group, and yellow ones. And I'm not so sure whether he had an idea of naming them, but the notes I got was like I was happy with calling them red, blue, and yellow. Let's look at another one. And this is the blue one. Mixing up the different poses also really helps because what it does is it gives a sense of variety, and that's what you want when you have a limited amount of scalps. Just moving things around, and each stand can feel very different. Let's look at the yellow one very quick before we move on. So yeah, all nicely done. Actually the figures have got a very fresh look, very bright feel. It's not for everybody. I know some folks who prefer the dark, gritty, really weathered look. But I think at this scale, this one works because you want the figures to pop. And besides, I think Laisu was going for a more showcase feel when it comes to painting his army. All right, so I managed to get Laisu to tell me the process he used to get the miniatures to this standard. And he says there are quite a lot of processes, there are quite a lot of steps, so I'm going to go through them one by one. So step 1, he says he primed and zenithal highlighted with the Liquitex titanium white. And then at step 2, he masked off the faces and non-shield areas, simply because, when you're doing airbrushing, right, you don't want this to affect the rest of the figure and just get them onto the shields. Step 3, he used airbrushed on the shields to create a smooth transition and gradient. Now that's the advantage of using an airbrush. You can actually do this using a brush. It will not be as smooth, and but each has its own strengths and weaknesses. Step 4 is a great tip. He gloss varnished the shields to provide a smooth surface for decals. I'd recommend this if you're using decals or using a lot of decals, because a lot of times people, when they are putting on decals, this is one step they generally don't do. Step 5, he applies the decals. Now the decals need the right tools, right? If you want to get them done nicely without it being frustrating, right? So specific tweezers, for example, to handle the decals. And, later when you want to progress, a good decal scissor, can help to cut off parts of the decal to fit in some of the tight spots where the shields overlap. This is, again, something, Laisu got from the whole Gunpla world or the Gundam modeling world. Step 6, he used decal softener to help the decals conform better to the surface. This is another step which, like I said, to get the best result, you want to use the best tools, and the decal softener is one of those tools. Step 7, he matte varnished the decals to lock them in. Now, the thought process behind doing the decals first is to avoid the matte varnishing of the metallics, right, and thus dulling their shine. And he also said it also allows the decals to participate in the oil wash process, so that it can blend better into the miniature. Step 8, he used Vallejo Express color and contrast paints to do slap chop, right, and thus taking advantage of zenithal highlighting. Step 9, he applied the metallics. Step 10, the oil wash. Now, the oil wash is done with a mix of black, blue, and brown on the entire model. The wash is allowed to sit for about an hour or two before removing the excess with a makeup sponge, with cotton buds, and brush. Now, and sometimes you use white spirits as well when needed. The whole wash is then allowed to dry overnight. This helps with the curing, and it's for the best results. Step 12, highlights are applied with normal acrylic paint and Liquitex inks. Inks used strategically can help the model pop better due to the high pigment count in the inks. Step 13, metallics are highlighted with his favorite Vallejo metal color airbrush range for their incredible shine. Now, I would also agree the Vallejo metallics are quite nice. I think the particles in the Vallejo metallics are slightly finer for that smoother finish. Step 14, bases are prepared with some light brush priming on the edges, right? So this is basically to make sure that that the base has a little bit of a lip, and you basically want to make sure that there's everything's consistent, right, and doesn't affect the overall look. Step 15, the miniatures are super glued together and positioned on the base. Step 16, Vallejo Diorama FX paste of Dark Earth is used to create ground textures. Now, you can get more complex features compared to just dipping it in sand. Now, again, for me, I usually just dip it in sand because, like I said, I want to get them on the table and play. But But if you're taking your miniature painting to another level, you would want to consider the Valio diorama effects paste or any other diorama or effects paste for basing, because it also helps to give the base the kind of texture that you can only get when you are using something like this instead of like just static grass or just sand, right? Step 17, he washed the figures with the Games Workshop's Agrax Earthshade. Step 18, he applied pigments generously on the base in spots and dusted it off to create a more natural feel. All these different colors and stuff like that on the base. He also used Valio light sienna pigments for this. Step 19, he applied 2mm tufts from Gamer's Grass. This is the dark green ones. Now, there's a huge world of base crafting which is open to explore, and choosing to use different lengths of tufts or static grass is a huge difference, whether it's a 2mm or 6mm, or there's a huge difference between one or the other, and choosing the right one for the right figure or the right project makes a world of difference. Now, step 20, he painted the rim or the bases black. So this is just basically to standardize the whole look. Now, for those of you guys who are hardcore painters and are looking for all these different colors to use or ideas of colors, I've got the paint recipe for these infantry models. Now, the skin was based with Valio Express color, dwarf skin, and highlighted with Valio model color, sunny skin tone. The red tunic was based with Valio Express color, Seraph red, and Valio Express color, plasma red, and highlighted with Valio model color, dark vermilion. The white tunic was based with Games Workshop contrast, apothecary white, and highlighted with Valio model color, off-white. The green tunic were based with Games Workshop contrast, plague bearer flesh, and highlighted with Games Workshop contrast, plague bearer flesh, and Valio model color, ice yellow. The wood parts were based Valio model color, orange brown, and highlighted with Valio model color, gold brown. The armor lining was done with Valio model color, green ochre. The bronze bits used a base color of scale 75 Viking gold and highlighted with Valio model color, gold, and scale 75 Viking gold. The leather was based with Games Workshop contrast, Cygol brown. The blacks was based with Games Workshop contrast, black Templar, and highlighted with Valio model color, French Mirage blue. The whites were based with Games Workshop contrast, apothecary white, and highlighted with Valio model color, off-white. Now let's look at the shields. The red shields were based with Liquitex Naphithol crimson, Liquitex yellow orange azo, and highlighted with Valio model color, dark vermilion, and Valio model color, flat yellow. The blue shields were based with Liquitex turquoise deep, Liquitex phthalocyanine blue, and Liquitex titanium white, and highlighted with Valio game color turquoise and Valio model color off white. The yellow shields were based with Liquitex transparent burnt sienna, Liquitex yellow orange azo, Liquitex yellow medium azo, and highlighted with Valio model color flat yellow and Valio model color ice yellow. The oil wash was a mixture of black, brown, and blue, and the decals used the Valio decal softener. Now, I hope you like this part of the army. So it's just the infantry part. We have the cavalry part coming up really, really soon. And it'll probably follow the same format. I'm really, really excited to feature this whole army, but I've broken it up into small bite-sized videos simply because there's just so much to cram in, and I really, really want there to be enough information to justify the work that's been done making these figures really, really, really pop and really, really showcase the work that's gone into it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like to leave a comment, please do. Either for as encouragement to Laisu, and let us know what you think. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to enjoy painting those figures.